All right, so thanks for checking out the stream. I'm actually going to be jumping into what I'm doing right now. I have an interesting individual here. His name is Zachary. He's actually going to be talking shop with me about the game dev community and just going through some things. And so, Zachary, just explain who you are and what you're with and what we might be talking about today.
Okay, sure. So my name is Zach. I'm a local developer, like a software developer. I'm also a streaming entertainer. And I've recently partnered up with What's Cool Niagara to bring more attention to the Niagara region and specifically their developers, app developers, game developers, just developers in general. To shed some light on their projects, maybe get some extra hype going. So that's basically what we're trying to do. And I reached out to Adam not that long ago, actually earlier today.
Yep.
Because we're trying to get our initial pilot off the ground.
Nice.
Which will basically be us playing through a demo of either a game or playing through a feature that he's developed. We're then going to bring him in for an actual little interview, have him talk about things he's proud of, things he's waiting to improve on for the game that he's already liked, just stuff in general to get more information about his game out there to the community as a whole.
Cool. And thanks for having me. Thanks for doing this interview with me. I look forward to the other interview that we'll be doing, but and also just talking in general about the community and talking about just my endeavors and everything else. As you can see, I don't know if you're watching the channel while I'm doing this, but just in the past hour, I've created this model here. Okay, and this is just out of just something random, but people like me and just other developers and things like that, they're all over Niagara. Okay, so this isn't just a thing isolated to Toronto or Hamilton or whatever. There's a lot of us out there. It's just we're sort of we're kind of in our apartments, we're in our studios, whatever. We don't you don't really see a lot of it because a lot of it's on the internet, right? So we don't happen to be doing a lot of local stuff, but I've actually seen a lot of big splashes happen recently. So just on Tuesday, there was a big thing in Montebello Park in St. Catharines where it was.
Oh, were you there?
No, but I saw I wanted to be. I was actually finishing up a couple things. I really wanted to be there. Unfortunately, were you there?
Yeah, I was actually.
Oh, awesome. Okay, cool. How was it?
It was a great event. I got there a little bit later than the start time, but they had a student demo for a game that students from Niagara College have been developing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was almost like a Dark Souls-esque kind of feel.
Sweet.
Team of 10 in total, 6 were there. And I gotta say, for a student demo, it's a way better than I expected.
Wow. Yeah,
which really does go to show the level of talent that does exist in our region.
A lot of those guys in Niagara College, they are coming from out of town, so it's not always the best, kind of sample of what's in Niagara. But a lot of the guys end up staying here anyway because of the jobs and things like that.
Right.
So that's just my personal opinion. That's just based off of seeing people kind of leave, somewhere in Peterborough or somewhere in Sault Ste. Marie or Kitchener or whatever, and they're just coming down into Niagara because it's an easy way to, to get it. And also Niagara has that game development program, and it's not really offered.
Yeah, they do. I was actually a pioneer in that program.
Yes, yeah. I remember it was back in the day, you had to either get your programming, or maybe you specialize. Maybe you went to Sheridan College for animation. Maybe you went to something very specific, and you were in this very specific narrow band. And it wasn't so much game development, but it was more of what you specialized in, and then you branched out from there. Maybe you got a job in 3D, like a studio, and then you just sort of built your background that way. 1 second. Sorry, I live close to a hospital, so there was a chopper coming in.
I think one thing that I absolutely love about the programs that are offered, at least in the region, is you wouldn't really expect there to be good schooling
Oh, nice.
Like 20 years of experience, but was able to give data to the students and create fantastic projects.
Yeah, I'm actually really surprised by Niagara College as well for a lot of their stuff. What program are you in exactly?
Pardon me?
What program did you say you were in?
I graduated from computer programmer.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't catch that one part. Like I said, that chopper went by and it was
The
super
reception
loud.
around my house is weird.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like those mini dead zones.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm in one of those.
Oh, okay. One second. Tour. I'm just trying to name this thing here. I've actually created I'm creating a low poly character asset to just quickly throw in. Just doing an animation study on. I really want to try an inverted leg today and just kind of like go from there, and maybe a tail and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I really wanted to be there at that convention on Tuesday, but I actually went to the Mixer in March at I don't know if you went to that. It was in the
No, I didn't go to that one, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. So it was actually really cool. There's this company that has an office inside of Innovate Niagara, and they had a fighting app that was super. It was just crazy. It looked like Guilty Gear mixed with like the new Dragon Ball that came out. It looked amazing. It used like a cell shading, sort of like a comic book feel that was really authentic looking. And they were demoing it the whole time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was really impressed by it. And there are Chinese, Chinese developers, and they also had a Chinese producer producing the product. But it was built mostly in-house, locally in Innovate Niagara. I'm actually kicking myself for not knowing the name of the product or the company. I guess later in the video or later I can look them up. I'm just kind of focused on what I'm doing here. Do you happen to know about PixelNaughts by any chance?
You know what? The developer was actually at the Mixer yesterday, or on Tuesday, I want to say.
Yeah, and they're actually making a huge splash with Lost Orbit, Terminal Velocity, which is their expansion to their game they released, I think, back in 2015. And it is absolutely amazing. The epilogue part of it, like the expansion part of it, it's exactly what the name suggests. It is Terminal Velocity. Like it's high octane entertainment. These guys, the guy, at the head of the project, Alex Gobielski, he was actually a lead animator in Silicon Knights, working on various projects, Two Human, X-Men, Destiny, things like that. And I mean, after Silicon Knights kind of like fell into itself, he basically created this project with two other developers.
Yeah, I was very upset when they shut down.
Oh man, that broke my heart.
I mean, Two Human, who did not love that game?
Apparently, Epic Games didn't.
They did a great job.
They did a great job, and I really liked the storytelling in it. There's a couple things I didn't like, but there was more of what I did like. The more pros than cons, I think. And the animation, the 3D, like the art for it was intense. The thing that I didn't like was more or less like the campy voice acting. But I mean, it is a video game. They were kind of appealing to a very specific audience, so it worked for that audience. So.
Right, I enjoyed the game. I wasn't the biggest fan of the analog stick fighting. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
That threw me for a bit of a loop, like using the right analog stick to attack someone. I'm a runner and a gunner. I don't want to power slide
Yeah, I think they were trying to go for more of like a fighter like type style. I don't know. Like there's a around that time there was a lot of different um, different games trying out different fighting styles. Like I found that like Final Fantasy was doing some weird stuff by then, and just I don't know. They at least they were trying to
Yeah.
push the envelope and just trying to like see what works and seeing if the market actually like enjoyed that style. Um, one second here. I'm actually working on a couple things myself. I mean, I'm really no one. Okay, so I'm just sort of I do a lot of game jams and I make a lot of small projects and things like
You're
that.
kind of cutting out there.
Oh, I apologize. Um, I'm making a couple small projects on the go. Um,
Right.
and one I'm actually working on right now is it's called Entopia, and it's on my website. You can find out more information at atomdello.ca/Entopia. Basically, what it is you play as a bug. You choose your bug, and you evolve them throughout gameplay. So whatever you use, you're evolving, and there's a bit of a story to it based on what faction you decide. A faction being the species of bug that you choose, and
Okay.
right? So you can play as an ant, a spider, wasp, beetle, and the it's within the first month of creation. So I'm sort of playing with different concepts. I might try a couple different things, but there's a lot of videos I've already created that shows like the gameplay, and it's all being done inside of Unreal Engine. So it's kind of Epic Games. We're talking about Too Human, right? And which was created by UDK or by Epic Games. They were using the UDK at the time, and that's kind of what got them into trouble. And so it's created this sour taste in everyone's mouth locally of just using Unreal Engine, in my personal opinion. And that's why you see a lot of a lot of developers using Unity and things like that. And I think it also has to do with what's being taught and used and things like that in college.
Yeah, well, Unity has a bit. Like for example, I work solely with C++ at work,
Okay.
but I'm a C sharp guy at heart.
Oh,
That's
really?
what I was taught in school.
Okay.
So like obviously Unreal Engine uses C++, and
Yes.
Unity uses C sharp.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, for like
But
if you do like anything like HTML based stuff, it's Node.js. But then if it's mostly based in C++ because it runs the fastest. The C sharp though, I mean,
memory efficient.
yeah, memory efficient. You can have access to the memory access and hyper-threading, things like that. As far as I understand, hyper-threading or at least multi-threading, whatever, you can do in C sharp, if I'm not mistaken. But memory addresses and things like that, I'm pretty sure you can't. I'm not sure.
No, what the problem is with C sharp. Whenever you create a new class, you're forced to create a brand new class.
Ah,
With C++,
okay.
you can reference the same class over and over again and save yourself megabytes of data
Yes.
from memory.
Oh, okay. So that's the difference. Yeah, I actually don't know C sharp that well. C plus plus I do on a very kind of
Right.
like a superficial level. Like I know Blueprint very well. Blueprint is to me like the way to go for if you're not a programmer. Unreal Engine allows you to visually program things, and what I mean by that is with Blueprint, right? So it's kind of like yeah, like I don't really know the equivalent to it for what you might know, but it's node based. So you just click and drag onto like a graph editor, and then you just kind of like you wire up your instances. So like if statements would be branching, or if you know simple arithmetic, you can just use variables and You can have like for loops, for each loops, things like that. And if you at least know the algorithms and the logic, you don't exactly need to know the syntax. You can just kind of, figure it out from there.
Right, you can just literally blueprint it out, right?
Yeah, that's yeah, and it goes a lot faster than typing things out. I mean, obviously, not everything is exposed. Not every variable and function is exposed, but it doesn't need to be, right? I find there are some walls you do hit, and at that point, you can just go ahead and do some basic C++. Like you can mix the two, which is great.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you really get a head start with blueprint and then finish off with C++.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not even that complicated. It's heavily documented. So if at any point in time you hit yourself in a brick wall, then you can just do a quick Google search and boom, you find out the answer within a minute. If you're struggling more than 5 minutes on something, chances are you could probably find out what you're looking for through Google within seconds.
Right.
And yeah, so doing that, I've been able to create some really basic games. I'm finally putting a couple things to market soon. Been working on, well, last year I did Vena Vr, which is a virtual art gallery. Okay, we had 20 plus artists, 120 pieces of art that I had to personally curate in 6 different rooms, and yeah, man, it was brutal, but it was really cool. We did it on Oculus Go, and Unreal Engine has a template for VR, and you can just quickly make VR games. Boom, you just get the template going, you can just start dropping stuff in, and away you go. You have yourself a pretty cool VR simulation.
Right, okay.
Yeah, man. So that's what I was doing. We finished that up back in November. We did a big release of it at Control V. I don't know if you've heard of this place, Control V.
Oh, I love Control V.
Nice. You have, okay. Yeah, Control V. We actually did a cool little unveiling there, and it was really well received. They were great people. Charmaine and I feel like a dink for forgetting this guy's name. I'm terrible with names, by the way. Anyway, the two that run it there, they're amazing people, and they run an amazing, arcade. Basically, they don't like calling it arcade, but to anyone who hasn't been there before and they don't know what it is, it's probably the best way to explain what it is. It's more than an arcade, though, right? So.
Right.
Yeah, it's an experience. So, we were doing that. The only problem with that, though, is not everyone has a VR helmet, right? So it didn't really get a lot of coverage. No one really knew what it was because it's just there's no way of getting it out there to the masses. It's more or less like
Right.
yeah, but it's done. We did it, and it's just something that I've released and I'm quite proud of. And yeah, it's not it, but that's the more significant things that I'm doing or have done in the past.
Right.
On Tuesday, what did you happen to run into any other studio that was doing anything cool besides
No,
Pixel?
it was just figure we ran into was 6 Pillars.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're cool 6 Pillars. Those are the guys who were doing the development.
Nice.
Yeah.
What are they doing?
It was literally, so like I said, they were working on that Dark Souls-esque game.
Oh, so that's the Dark Souls one. Oh, okay. So they sort of did what the last mixer did. They only featured one developer.
Oh, did they?
No, did they? Like, did they only feature one developer, or?
Oh, yeah, sorry, they did, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's unfortunate because there's actually some, like I said, like PixelNaughts and I'm surprised that Apocalypse Studios didn't jump on that bandwagon. They're working on
I
like
actually did meet some people from Apocalypse Studios.
really.
Yeah, I met one of their, I think their junior creative director, one of their programmers, and one of their artists.
Oh, nice. Did you happen to meet?
Yeah.
I think his name is Leon. Leon. Ian.
I think it is his. That's how I pronounce it. Yeah, bigger dude, right?
I believe so. I mean, like as far as like,
I met him.
okay,
Really nice guy. Great sense of humor.
yeah, he was actually at the thing that I did, the keynote that I did last month at the Landlord Web Solutions, and
Oh, okay.
yeah, him and I got talking, and it was crazy awesome that like some of the things that they're doing, and I was able to get a like a kind of an inside look as to what they're doing. I guess it's like a mobile game or something, and yeah, it's
That's what you're getting at.
oh sorry about that. I guess they're doing like a mobile game that's kind of like Bloodborne, and
Yeah, that's what you're talking about.
yeah, so this is coming from the creator of Eternal Darkness, okay? So Dennis Dyack. And this guy, I mean, he's a bit of a legend to me anyway. He was like the head of Silicon Knights. And, I mean, this guy's a great storyteller, obviously like too human and things like that. Like, so I'm really excited to see. Actually, I really want to see what it's actually called. Apocalypse Studios, because I think they deserve an actual a shout out.
I would love to. Oh, what's his name was again? He's on the tip of my tongue right now.
Dennis Dyack.
Dennis Dyack. I would genuinely love to meet him. Like I said, two heroes of my favorite games. I like the direction they headed with X-Men Destiny.
Yeah. Yeah, so their new game for the Apocalypse Studios is putting out is called Dead House Sonata, Fight the Living. All right, so this is what they say on here. Dead House Sonata is a cooperative multiplayer, free-to-play action RPG where you play the undead fighting the living. Interesting concept. An unstoppable force from Dead House, you are a monster among men, dealing death and destruction on a massive scale. Launch enemies in the air and eviscerate them with the elegant dance macabre. Costume your enemies to make yourself whole while exploring the grim world of Nogasso. Hope I pronounced that properly. So, as far as I understand, I mean, I'm looking at imagery that kind of looks like it might be like Diablo style or based on Solomon's Key, or whatever that was called, the the 1400s. It's what everything's based on. H.P. Lovecraft based his work on Solomon's Key. Actually, I think it's got a very specific name. Solomon's Key. I think Solomon's Key was something else, but it was actually. Look, if I can type it properly. Key of Solomon. Yeah, I don't know if you. Yeah, I'm over here. I don't know if you knew this, but Key of Solomon is basically the core at a lot of different games and movies and anything that you see a lot of demonic imagery, any modern day demon or anything like that is probably
That is true. Oh, I know that
based.
the Key of Solomon itself, there's like technically two parts to it. One is for the good side, like the angel side, and one is for starting the demon side.
Yeah, which I think Diablo
I'm
really.
into that stuff.
Oh, really? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I'm very into like esotericism and stuff like that.
Cool. Yeah, I feel like that's a really good storytelling too. If like if you can draw on like a lot of stuff that's to some people it still hits a nerve, right? But I feel in today's culture, it's kind of like it's been told so many different times where it doesn't really have its shock value anymore. But you know, it might upset your grandma or something.
Just a bit.
Right now, I'm trying to create a low poly, I guess, a mesh cage right now. With what I'm doing, I'm creating like a robotic minotaur, and
Oh,
yeah, so I'm using 3D Studio Max to remove some of the things, and then I'm going to be skinning it and then animating it really quickly, just for something to do. Which actually brings me to something else that I was working on before Entopia. Entopia has kind of taken center stage for me, but something that I've had this idea for a very long time, and it's called Xenozoria. It's basically a dungeon crawler, and you're basically like it's like Cybertron, where like it's just a world of robots. There's
right.
these. Have you ever played Gauntlet before?
Of course.
All right, so Gauntlet, or even Baldur's Gate, things like that. It's a dungeon crawler. You're looking for keys. You're looking for ways to get through the dungeon. Only this is kind of like a robotic dungeon type thing, where the whole thing is almost alive. It involves like hacking. You have to like go in this robotic internet type thing where you can control various parts of the dungeon to open up doors and things like that. And you're fighting all sorts of different kinds of robots and alien type things. Um, it's gonna have this big twist in different parts of it. Eventually it'll bring in humans at some point, but to this alien race, they're creating God that you find out, and their version of God ends up being human. So it's kind of like
Oh,
yeah, it's like that big twist, right? And
right.
yeah, I think it'll do well. It's going to be kind of more like top-down Gauntlet style, but then when you hack and do things, it's got this weird. Took me forever to get this fly around where you can fly around and quickly. Have you ever played Mahjong before?
No, I haven't.
Okay, it's basically like this towering thing. Well, I guess like 3D mahjong. It's like this towering thing. It's kind of like what is that called? Jenga, but it's got like it's like a puzzle piece, like a puzzler type thing. But you fly around it, and you have to solve this Jenga spire that is based on symbols. It's kind of similar to that. It's weird. It uses like different hacking techniques that some people would be familiar with, like DDoSing and man in the middle and stuff like that. Just based on like an alien internet type thing, and it's really interesting. So like basically like two different kinds of games smashed into one. So I've been working on that, this past year, but then I'm sort of shifting because it's one of those like, well, what can I put out faster? I could probably put this bug game out faster and hit a lot more, like a wider audience, really a lot faster than I can with this sci-fi thing that happens to be oversaturated.
Right.
But I'm sort of getting nervous now because have you heard of that sugar glider game? I don't know.
No, I haven't.
Okay, well, after this call, check out the sugar glider game, right? And what they're doing, I just seen this post on Twitter that they released this week. I guess they're basically doing what I had in mind for Entopia, of just taking control of insects and things like that, which kind of pisses me off because I was like, oh, I thought I had this original idea in 2019, but it turns out, these guys are going with it, so I'm thinking that maybe I should probably shift it a little bit, maybe add some anthropomorphic parts to it, like making it more human, like characters that are insects and things like that. Oh, are you? Can you see the stream while we're talking?
I'm actually out right now. I'm heading to an event in St. Catharines.
Oh, okay. I was just curious. Okay. Um, yeah, because I was just gonna say, like, if you could see my screen, I'd be able to show you like what I was talking about with Entopia, so I can kind of pivot on that point. Uh, yeah. So
Actually, I can just go on from my app.
okay. Cool.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're talking about. Okay.
Oh, okay. All right. And I'll just show you what's second here. Oop, that's my actual thing. One second. Adam Delo and then Entopia. So this is the one second, I just gotta load this site. So basically, like, what you're seeing here is like the cicadas that I made. Um, I don't know if my stream will show this properly, but I actually created about 100 ants that actually like they kind of they all have their own pathing and they all follow their own kind of agenda, I guess, right? And this video is showing just sort of the objectives that you might have. This one is just collecting seeds, right? So think like Sim Ant for Super Nintendo,
Right.
right? So I was more thinking of like a World of Warcraft style where it's just like hunter gatherer, like doing basic quests where gather this amount or kill this dude or talk to this guy, and the idea would be you know designing your character sort of like Spore, where like as you progress you get points into your character and then you slowly develop him and go from there. So yeah. So I mean, I'm only one dude. I'm only just making this as like a demo, and then hopefully
Right.
I might bring this to say like Patreon or Kickstarter, or I might approach you know s- some benefactor or something like that, or just a way to get this off the ground. Maybe a producer or something like
Right.
that,
We
and see
need
what
to
happens.
have that at least a visual demo first.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to go in and just be like, "Yeah, I got this great idea." Like no one likes the idea guy at all. Like you either
No,
show
I
up with
want
a
to see the guys that's doing shit.
yes, absolutely. I hate the idea guy. I see that happen all the time on indie game dev, the Facebook groups and things like that. Like you always get that one dude at least once a day. Like, I have an idea. Who can make my game for me? Okay, where's the money at? No money? Oh, okay. Well, I got my own ideas, pal. See you around.
Or yeah, someone says the idea and someone else steals it.
Oh man, that's the worst. I will. It's hard to have an idea, an original idea in 2019. So it's like it's one of those. I guess you can hold on to your idea, and then but if you don't put it out there, and if you don't try and get it out there, it actually backfires on you. Where it's like you say, "Hey, I had that idea back in 2019." 5 years later, and it's like, "Well, where'd your idea go? Like, was it publicized? Can you back up your claim?" "No, I kind of hid it away from the world so no one would take my idea." Okay, well, what I actually did do was I wrote down the game design document of just the base idea, and I wrote down as much as I could, and I put it in an envelope, and then I made sure to mail it out. It hasn't come back to me yet, so it's one of those like I'm just sort of waiting on it. But apparently, it does hold up. I did actually go to a copyright conference. Now, it doesn't really hold up as much. There's a lot of loopholes and things like that, but I guess what they said is it still sort of works. It's just based off of kind of a bunch of variables, but all these little things of like when you published it, and it also comes down to policing it. No one's gonna police it but you, or let's say if you have like a team of lawyers, I guess. But if you find it out there, and if you just let it be and you don't actually, bring these people and say, hey, cease and desist, I made this first, blah 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 blah, here's my lawyer, blah blah blah, then after a year, if you haven't done anything, and then a couple years go by, like, hey, like you try to sue them, then it doesn't work because now it's like the judge is going to look at it and say, like, hey, you published this then, they published it 9 months after they saw your stuff, but you didn't do anything about it for 2 years. What do you want me to do about it? You know what I mean? Like, it's negligence, basically. So
Yeah.
it's hard, man. It's really hard.
It is. I hate to cut this short, but I gotta get going for now.
No, I totally understand. We had it capped at like 45 minutes. It's actually almost an hour. So thanks for having me. Thanks for talking shop with me. I look forward to any further discussion.
Yeah, I'll keep you informed when we find out for a location for what we're gonna do. I'll keep you updated and all that stuff.
For sure. All right.
All right, it was great talking with you. I'll see you around.
Likewise, man. Have a good one. Bye.
You too. Bye.
Oh, it's driving me crazy.